All right, council, you're officially at quorum of 10, so I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:07. We'll start with the signing of the attendance sheet. Do you have a proxy today?
Yeah.
Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Piggy and I'm proxy for Stephanie for 5 months.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so next up we have approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Trent?
Strike the academic resolution report and ASRF.
ASRF. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move to strike the external vice president's report as well as the ET Brewer defenders. Zach, however, is at thanks for his work for his postgraduate career and got held up in downtown, so has no physical means to get back, so we wish him the best of luck. Marvin?
We will strike the student wellness programming fund.
Student wellness programming fund, okay. Any other amendments to the agenda?
Move to strike the arts restoring community fund.
Okay. I don't see a proxy. Okay. All right, any other amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I can entertain a motion. Zach?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second? Second by Heather. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against and those abstaining. To 9-0-0 vote, the agenda has been approved as amended. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes from April 26th. They were just sent out, so hopefully everyone had time to review. I can entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Danny?
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Second by Heather. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against and those abstaining. To 9-0-0 vote, the minutes have been approved. Next up, we have public comments. So the first round of public comments will be audio only. So we'll have the visual aid on USAC Live turned off. So all of the viewers will only be able to hear your voice as opposed to seeing your face as well. The second round of public comment will be audio and visual. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes. I will cut you off at 2 minutes, and it is reserved to undergraduate members of the association. So we'll go ahead and start for audio only public comment. Okay, seeing no audio only, we'll go ahead and turn on USAC Live. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so now we'll go for audio and visual public comment. Okay. You can stand wherever you'd like.
Yeah, I'll stay here. Well, thank you for the opportunity to comment. I'm here because Zach is proposing a bylaw change that will expedite the appointment process to the Community Activities Committee. Many of you probably recognize me. I'm Josh. I was here a few weeks ago being appointed to the CAC. And for those of you who don't know, the CAC has a spring mini fund that allocates money to service groups about the middle of this quarter. So I was appointed about the time that applications were due, which meant that I was learning to read applications, conduct hearings, and deliberate allocations while I was doing these 3 things. It was great hands-on experience, but it was also catch-up and a tough on-the-job training. And I can't imagine doing this for the regular fund, which takes place during the summer. The regular fund receives 4 to 5 times as many applications. The applications tend to be longer, so it's really important that we always have a full committee and a fully trained committee while the summer regular fund is going on. Years past this hasn't happened, the allocations have been pushed back, and service groups have had to cancel site visits. And so I think it's really important that that does not happen moving forward. CAC intends to begin training in June. This is so that the committee can hold office hours and workshops for groups filling out the application, because we don't want groups who are new to the application process to be at an unfair disadvantage when compared to groups who have applied for it before and are familiar with the application process. So again, it's extremely necessary that we go into summer with a full committee ready to be trained. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So keep going on with public comment. Right here.
Hi, I'm Regina. I'm in Heather's office, and I also am the product director for Student Food Collective, which is based on campus.
I'm Gabby, and I'm the membership director of the Student Food Collective, and next year I'm going to be director.
So I know you all tonight are voting on whether to more or less like give us space upstairs in the fourth workshop to have the pilot diversity co-op. And I'm just here to full support of this and telling you that this would be amazing for us basically, and mean that we would have access to way more students than we had in the past, and just be able to serve just serve the student body in a better way. And definitely issues of food security are, the administration has been paying a lot more attention to that, and there's a lot of money in it. And if we had a space on campus where we could really make the best use of those resources and serve them most, like that, if we had a space given to us, then we could do the best that we can with the money that we are receiving.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're coming for the space to centralize all the food security initiatives, including SSC and other related programs.
Thank you. Yeah, keep going on for public comment.
Good evening, everyone. Y'all know me. My name is Jazz. I'm here on behalf of the Social Justice Referendum, and I wanted to cue you all in on a judicial board petition that we have submitted, and we have been very fortunate because two of you at this table have also decided to become petitioners along with us on this petition, and we are petitioning to the judicial board in regards to the interpretation of the election code, specifically with spending limits for referendums. So hopefully the judicial board will consider our case tonight and potentially have a hearing tomorrow. But I did want to cue you all in because if the judicial board ends up ruling against this, I hope you all can be in favor of supporting the social justice referendum, like how you all unanimously placed it on the ballot. So more updates to come. I'm sure two of you as council members can fill in each other as well. Like I hope for any, I don't want for you all to have to step in, but if it is necessary, I hope you all can consider supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, one more call for public comment. Okay, seeing no more public comment, I close public comment at 7:14. We have no special presentations, we have no appointments, so we'll go straight into officer and member reports. So last week I had the opportunity to meet with Lindsay, our election board chairwoman, to discuss about the 5th floor, about allocating it to be a shared space with the student food co-op. So Lindsay, the election board, has been made aware. They're the only one who are currently using this space. So I wanted to make sure that she was included in the conversation as well. Additionally, thank you so much for who came out to my office's programming event, A Dialogue for Student Leaders. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people who said they were available to attend and didn't end up coming. It was really great. It was a small conversation, but it was really great and productive. We talked a lot about identity-based issues. We talked a lot about how administration can better support students on campus. We talked a lot about student group funding and making sure student groups did have access to funding sources and what we can do to better expand the resources that are available, including especially the referendum. So it was a really great conversation. So thank you for coming and for the other students who were available to attend. Additionally, Heather and I met with the Administrative Vice Chancellor, Michael Beck, on Friday. I'll let Heather kind of touch on the safety aspect, so I did want to talk a little bit about our conversation regarding campus climate. He is new to UCLA, so we want to talk a little bit about kind of the short significance around some of the events that have been happening, conversations regarding freedom of speech, conversations about how students on this campus simply feel unsafe and what we can do to better support our campus climate and to better support communities here at UCLA. And then I just got off the phone with the council student body president. I had organized a phone call surrounding Ruben, Ruben is featured, who has been working from Berkeley regarding the Global Food Initiative for the UCOPS policy. And just some interesting updates I wanted to relay to all of you is that UCOP is preparing their kind of talking points for their travel and advocacy for the next year. And one of the 4 core priorities is food access and security, which is really exciting to hear. The administration will be including this, so this will be in conversation with potential stakeholders, alumni, all that sort of information. Great to hear that we are prioritizing food security. Additionally, one change that we made at the UC-wide levels regarding food security, it was now partner with housing security, so be more so about the basic food security platform. So the idea that we can't really talk about food security without talking about housing security, making sure our students are met with the basic necessities to really excel here at UCLA, at any UC, or just to be students at all. I mean, we really need to make sure that these basic securities are being met since they aren't currently. Additionally, one other change has been made in regards to the student experience survey. There now will be questions regarding food security, which is the first time ever. Data, and I talked about this before at council, data is a huge difficulty in how we can really assess who is food insecure and how we can better support these populations of students. There isn't really necessarily a survey-based so much happening right now, so it's really great to see that these questions will be incorporated into existing surveys. We're expecting to get about 13,000 responses, so it'll be great information for us to have when we continue on these food security initiatives. And then I'll save some of my other updates for later on. So are there any other questions or any questions regarding my officer and member report? All right, we'll move on to the internal vice president.
First off, my IB fellows are going to be planning, or are in the process of planning, the USAC banquet, which is going to be, I believe it's 8th week. They sent out an invitation to all of you, so please respond back to them, RSVP. Hopefully all of you can attend. Invite members of your offices. We will be reserving 10 spots per office. And then if we have extra room, we'll of course send out the invitation again, and you can let the other members of your office attend. But it's just a way to celebrate all of the accomplishments that we've had this past year. To thank the members of our staff who worked so hard accomplishing all of the amazing projects that you all have done. So I hope that you can all attend. Heather Rosen and I met with Michael Beck last Friday. We discussed in regards to safety, the increased lighting in Westwood. Like I said at last meeting, the city is working on updating the lighting, but we want to have letters of support from all different angles and really tackle this from a multifaceted approach. So he said that he would support these efforts in improving the lighting in Westwood. We talked about a lot of campus climate issues that have happened, especially in regards to the chalkings that have happened on campus. How can we improve the modes of communication between administration and students in responses to these, and how can we prevent these instances from occurring? I think that's it. Regards to safety. And then and the Horowitz posters as well. Just, all of these different unfortunate events that have happened. We talked about how we can expedite the communication between administration and students, as well as making sure that they are responding to these instances fairly. Something that we both asked from administration was to come out with a process that students are aware of in responding to these different types of instances, so that they are aware of what to expect and formalize that process. And I also had the opportunity to meet with Yanina Montero as well as Denise Pacheco on Monday. And we talked about a lot of the similar instances. They're on board with supporting increased lighting in Westwood, which is very cool. So is Maria Landese, which is very exciting as well. Talked about, again, how we can formalize a process of responding to these different issues that have been occurring, unfortunately. Marvin and I also just came from an event, it was Every One event, where they brought together members from the OTI trip, from the Chancellor's advocacy trip, and from the Interfaith Dialogue group. And we all kind of came together. We had the opportunity to discuss issues that are facing our campus, how we can work together, instances where we have felt heard and what that was like, and how we can have those sorts of interactions with other students. So I'm happy to see that there are continued conversations with between administration and students. There are a lot of administrators from student affairs there, which is good to see. I will be a panelist on the Undergraduate Religious Center on May 17th. So I'm really excited for that. We'll be talking about my experience in the interfaith trip and hopefully shed light on the need for a dean of spiritual life, which has been a topic of conversation for some time. I wanted to let you all know that this coming Friday, there will be a campus climate hearing in the Collins Alumni Center in JWAC from 1 to 4 p.m. and Assemblymember Weber will be there to hear out students. I'll forward you all the invitations so that if you are interested, please do attend, and also send it to members of your office that you think would be interested in coming. Sorry, it was kind of long.
All right, are there any questions for?
Just a comment to go expand off of the event that I mentioned. We were fortunate enough to sit down with a bunch of different people, not only from UCLA, but outside of UCLA, are very much, some of them ahead of the game, and then also at different stages in terms of their interfaith development on campus. And so we're fortunate that we are able to actually leave early, but also have our successors in place to continue the conversation. So it won't just end with Heather in our senior year, but we'll have successors that are already involved in the conversation.
Yeah, I forgot one more thing. So the Let's Get Lit campaign has launched. Please all sign the change.org petition for increased lighting in Westwood.
Okay.
And center offices too. It's huge.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, I forgot one thing as well. I had a meeting yesterday with Melanie from Development UCLA regarding middle income affordability. We talked about some talking points that would address donors and sponsors and any advocacy regarding middle income affordability in reference to scholarships. The conversations are going, and there is a lot of administrative response, which is great to incorporate that, especially after we all leave, to make sure that it's still definitely a priority, which it is. All right, now going to our administrative representatives. Roy is not present. Dr. Geller? Doesn't speak, okay. Michael Stark? Okay. Is not present. And Patty?
I have the installation of this room, marker calendars for May 22nd at noon for USAC installation. And you can pass these down. It's a really nice event. You bring your nameplate. As you remember from last year's kind of change in regards to introduce the next appointed or elected officers to take the place for your office. And then there's a little reception to follow. So I hope everyone made it. If for some reason you can't make it, if you can talk to me about perhaps bringing a proxy, so we can have someone introduce the next elected official. So it's not open space. Sometimes it's another council member who'll do it, but other times we have had proxies from that office. We can make either one work. And if the and maybe you can coordinate to have your name tag given to that proxy so they can still kind of do the turning around and the place. But ideally, it'd be great if everyone can make it. That's always the best. And I try to pick a non-holiday weekend to make it as simple as possible. So, mark your calendars and let me know if you have any questions.
Are there any questions right now? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go into our fund allocation. So for first, I'll get contingency programming.
Yeah, sure. For the USAC offices, community service solution applied for transitional training fee. The total amount required for that was $1,111.50 cents. The total amount requested was $1,095, and the recommended by the committee was $275. Under the student organizations, the total amount required
We'll do the vote first for the USAC offices, and we'll come back and do for the other two decisions. Okay, entertain a motion. Trent?
Move to approve allocation to the community service commission for $275.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Heather. Okay, any discussion regarding the allocation? Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstained? To a 9-0-1 decision, the fund allocation for USAC offices for contingency has been approved. Next up, we'll do first student organizations.
Sure. For student organizations, the total amount required was $113,280.56 cents. The total amount requested was $26,470, and the total recommended by the committee was $5,811.
Okay, I can entertain a motion. Can you read the room number one more time?
All three.
Just the,
I move,
yeah,
I move to approve the contingency allocation to city commission for $5,811.
okay. Second? Technically, it's okay. Any discussion regarding the allocation? Ian?
I have a question. How much will be remaining once this allocation is made?
The remaining will be 6,944.
And as you know, that is a low amount, but there is an action item later on to move from discretionary into contingency. Okay, with that, any other objections or comments? Okay, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against and those abstaining. To a 10-0-0 decision, contingency programming allocation for student groups has been approved. We have no burn defenders, no ARC, no ASRF, no student wellness programming fund. So we'll go ahead into the discretionary request for contingency.
Sure. Currently under the contingency, after approving today's allocation, we have 6,944 and 88 cents left. Seeing that we've received around 20% more applications, like more applications expected in spring, we've not been able to allocate many funds to certain organizations. I think this week alone, we've had 45 applications to the committee. So with that said, the finance committee would like to request 8,000 from the discretionary fund. This would allow us to allocate programs occurring before the 1st of June and would allow us to allocate more funds as opposed to how much we've been allocating before. The current amount left in discretionary is 48,250 and 47 cents. So, given the high amount, we'd like to request it from that.
Okay. So I can entertain a motion. Check.
It was 8,000, right?
Yes.
I move to move money from, council discretionary to contingency of 8,000.
Okay, so second by Zach. Okay, so now we'll open the floor for any questions or discussion. I have one question very quickly. Is the $14,247, including the recs that were submitted last week? So for example, there was money requested for the diversity town hall and then for the USAC plaque.
That's already accounting for all that.
Already accounted for.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I can open the floor for any questions or discussion. Check.
So how much would be left in council discretionary then? Sorry.
So I think
With the 8,000 move.
with the 8,000 move, it'll be 6,250 and 4 cents.
Check.
I asked that question because next council, I would like to propose, since it is our last meeting, to move whatever we have left from discretionary into the USAC endowment, considering the fact that this is a issue.
Okay. Is there any discussion regarding this week's discretionary request from the finance committee? Dr. Jones?
You referenced 45. Is that applications that would potentially be getting allocations next week?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second, so we can go ahead into a vote. All those in favor of reallocating $8,000 from discretionary into contingency, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against and those abstaining. To a 10-0-0 vote, the discretionary request has been approved. Next up, we have the capital contingency budget transfer to contingency fund request.
This year we only have one capital allocation from the capital contingency fund, and it's been extremely underutilized. I think because given that it's almost the end of the quarter, we don't foresee any more applications. So I would like to request the transfer of $2,338.63 from capital to contingency programming. I think this would leave a comfortable buffer of 1,000 just to ensure that if there are any applications in the next one.
Okay. So I can entertain a motion. Lexi? Okay. Motion? I'll do it. Heather?
I move to move the amount of $2,338.63.
Is that the right amount?
Yeah.
Correct? To the contingency fund.
All right, is there a second? You my unease? Okay, so now we'll go ahead into discussion. Lexi, you had your hand? Lexi?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has a question, but I'm about to put in a request for. No, I don't want to put in a request for capital, so I just want to be everyone's aware in case they have requests also, so before we transfer the budget, I just want to make sure everyone's aware that I'm going to be submitting for capital, and if anybody else is going to as well.
Okay. Ian?
Yeah, my question is if we do this, is this would that be basically all the money is not until January, next January? Because I feel like the incoming council members might need capital items as well.
Okay.
The only thing is, the incoming council member doesn't, they can't allocate any of your funds.
Okay.
So if there's any capital items that want to be purchased, it would have to be applied through this year's council.
Dr. Garland?
What is the time period from which contingency and capital contingency need to cover? I know that FICOM chair holds office through June, even though the rest of council is going to turn over next week. Does FICOM continue to allocate through June using this money, or what is the deadline for applications to capital and to the regular contingents?
We do it usually before June 1st, but sometimes we do have late applications from some of the student organizations. So it will last till the end of the month.
Okay, Zach?
I think it may be a good idea, since now this is on people's radar, to not do the transfer and then within the next week determine whether the offices and maybe notify the offices within Kirkhoff as well that this fund is available, and then do it at our last meeting possibly.
Okay.
Do the transfer.
So are you then proposing that we table? Or would you?
Or just vote no on this?
And then
Yeah, either or.
Okay. I don't, because there is a motion on the table, I think voting no, if that was what the council was agreeing to. Okay? Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so we do have a motion with a second. So we'll go ahead into a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. So,
All in favor to
all in favor
transfer.
to transfer this week. To transfer $2,338.63. But if you are in favor, that's totally fine. To contingency from capital. So all those in favor? All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those that abstain. So those reject, those abstain. Okay, so 10-0-0 votes. We will not be transferring, so we can talk to Stephanie about possibly a different action item next week.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that is it for our fund allocations. We have no old business, so we'll go straight into new business. First up on new business, we have a resolution in support of increased lighting in Westwood Village, presented by Dean Cocroft, Zach Helder, and Heather Woodard. Woo! You're welcome to go up there, take your seats, whatever you feel comfortable in.
No worries.
It might be a minute to have it up. I don't know if you want to go through your seats and then.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Sorry, because I don't know. Yeah, and then I'll pull it up after you guys. Sorry.
All right, so council, you have been sent out the resolution, you sent it out with the agenda last week. So go ahead and glance at it as Heather and Dean review it.
Okay. A resolution in support of increased lighting in Westwood Village by Heather Horton, Internal Vice President, Zach Heller, External Vice President, Dean Cookcroft, Facilities Commissioner. Whereas more than 64 property crimes and 12 violent crimes have occurred since January 1st, 2016 in the Westwood North Village between the hours of 9 p.m. and 5 a.m.
Whereas over 10,000 University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA students live within 1 mile of campus.
Whereas the current street lighting infrastructure in the North Village of Westwood is inadequate, leading to many dark locations and dim lighting in general.
Whereas improvements such as LED bulbs and improved circuitry would improve the lighting situation in the neighborhood.
Whereas increased street lighting can serve as a deterrent for crime and create safer communities.
Whereas the Undergraduate Student Association Council, USAC, recognizes the importance of student activism in calling attention to issues of safety.
Whereas the USAC believes that partnerships with stakeholders such as University of California Police Department, UCPD, UCLA administration, and the City of Los Angeles are crucial in improving the safety of UCLA students.
Whereas UCPD and the USAC Internal Vice President's Office have asked the West Side Alliance, a coalition of landlords, tenants, and UCLA administration, to upgrade the lighting on their respective properties.
Therefore, let it be resolved that the Internal Vice President's Office shall ask for statements of support for the improvement of lighting within the Westwood Village from the UCPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, and Westwood Neighborhood Council and UCLA administration.
Therefore, let it finally be resolved that the Undergraduate Students Association Council calls upon the Bureau of Street Lighting in the City of Los Angeles to upgrade the lighting infrastructure in Westwood Village as expediently as possible.
Okay, thank you to our authors for reading it. So this is an action, so I can entertain a motion to approve. Ian?
I move to approve the resolution supporting increased lighting in Westwood.
All right, is there a second? Second by Danny. Okay, so as we've done with past resolutions, we'll do the first part of the conversation surrounding grammatical as well as syntax corrections, and then the second part will be revolving the overall content. So one friendly amendment that I would like to make to the authors is that in typical format with our resolutions, we've done semicolons after every whereas, and then we have the last sentence is let it finally be resolved, therefore let it finally be resolved. So friendly suggestions to the authors. Do y'all accept those amendments?
Yeah.
Really, the first one is therefore, right? And then this is the last one.
The first one's therefore, and then the last one is just let it be fine, let it, instead of a therefore, you just leave the therefore, so it just says let it finally be resolved. Yes, just leave the therefore. And then semicolons after all of the phrases. Okay, are there any other amendments regarding the language, grammar, spelling, syntax, all that fun stuff?
And the first undergraduate student, it says Undergraduate Student Association Council instead of Students Association Council. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whereas.
Okay.
That's all I see on that.
Okay, you are an author, so you approve of that change. All right, are there any other amendments to the overall language?
So for the fourth whereas, there's two improvements in that sentence, it's just different. You can say improvements such as LED bulbs and circuitry would enhance the lighting situation when you go further.
You want enhanced?
And then the first.
Wait, let's, skip this one, sorry, just put enhanced, improved. What do you think about enhanced, is that an okay word choice? Enhanced circuitry?
Or they get rid of that completely and then have the other improved and the other. So delete the first.
Yeah, delete the first improve.
Enhance.
And make that
I'll
enhancement.
just delete it entirely, and you could say, for the second.
Enhance the lighting.
Yeah, you would enhance the lighting. And then the first whereas, I don't know if y'all care about this, but January 1st instead of 1/2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
January 1st.
First.
Yeah, and then do that one.
Sorry, I was like by myself, but there's one stuff,
Or is it just?
Oh, do you need a comma? You do first?
Do January 1st, no, comma, 2016.
yeah, just call me sorry.
Yeah.
But then the one where it says, whereas increased street lighting can serve as a deterrent for crime and create safer communities, y'all have the option to like create a safer community as like a West community, or you can do like multiple, doesn't matter.
More specific, I think it's better.
Okay.
No, your option.
Do you want to create a safer community?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Ruby, and Ms. Yes, you have Ruby?
I think there should be an adjective before circuitry, because circuitry exists, but it should be like improved circuitry or something, so I don't know. Updated.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other changes to the language, as grammatical changes, syntax changes, diction, all that stuff? Okay, so now we'll move on to the overall conversation regarding the resolution. So are there any points of discussion regarding the resolution in its entirety? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against? And those abstain? To a 10-0-0 vote, a resolution in support of increased lighting in Westwood Village has been approved. Woo! Thank you, everyone. Okay. Next up for action item, we have new business regarding PERCOP 519 into a shared space with the Student Food Co-op. So a little bit of background information. Thank you all so much for last quarter passing unanimously a resolution in support for the establishment of a food co-op. So I've been working with Patty and Roy to identify a space that we feel that would be suitable. We wanted a space that was very, visible in a central location on campus. So what better spot than PERCOP Hall, that has housed so many student organizations, including student government. We've identified the space in the 5th floor. It is formally seen as the communal office space. However, the only real utilization is being used by election board, which is really only using that space during election season. So ideally, we'd like to create this space into a student food co-op, but also serve as a resource center that can work in accordance with election board. So upon election, talking to the election board chairperson, there are obviously times when election board needs to meet in a private location during sanctions or anything involving candidates. And so it'd be up to those organizations to coordinate with one another to make sure that space is utilized in a proper setting. But we felt that this floor was a great location since it is so centrally located. It is a larger space to be able to house, couches and anything else to provide a facility, whether it be for timely workshops and working with people like the financial literacy coordinator, working with other entities, since we do have so many entities regarding food security, so bringing them all together, housing pamphlets, nutritional information, any information guides, as well as small meetings, so whether it be printing financial aid, nutrition, anything like that. And then also, above all, a host for the Student Food Collective and their bulk buying organization. What we've kind of been working on with Patty and Roy is to have a large refrigerator downstairs in the locker section. We can't put the refrigerator on the 5th floor due to electronic shortages. There's no electricity up there to support the refrigerator. So have it on the bottom floors where they would house the food, but can bring it up to the 5th floor to serve students or to meet somewhere in the middle. But to have the 5th floor is acting as this food kind of security resource center. I've been talking with my food security director about what we wanted to call this facility. So the conversation was whether calling it Student Food Co-op or Food Security Resource Center. We decided on the Student Food Co-op just because we thought it was a little bit more of a friendlier term. Food Resource Center can sound very official. We wanted this more as a inclusive place where the community can kind of come together, have this facility, have this central location. So again, it is working in accordance with the election board that is available. USAC does not allocate this, so that is why it's coming before council for a vote. So I wanted to provide all that background information. And then it is an action item, so I can go ahead and open up for a motion.
I move to approve the use of PERCOP 519 as a shared office space with Student Food Co-op.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Heather. Okay, so we'll go ahead into discussion regarding the action. Yeah, I mean, it is a large, so it was formerly the general office, and then when the transfer student representative was included, that was moved downstairs. It is a larger space than I thought it was when I walked into it. Obviously, having an even larger space would be better. However, we wanted to have a space on campus and show that there is, efforts being made by our student government, by our administration, to support food insecure students and to really promote the campus a culture of inclusivity and understanding. So ideally, we would like maybe a bigger space, but we feel like this is between the spaces that are available, what we've identified to be the most feasible, as well as a larger space that would support. It holds maybe about 10, 15 students at a time, so it wouldn't be enough for small workshops. So that's what we've identified as a feasible space that is available now. But there always is a conversation that if a larger space comes up, we'd love to take that in the future. But we felt like having it in Kirkhoff Hall was so important because it is in the middle of campus. We met with Vic DeLuca, who is one of the assistant vice chancellors, to see about other spaces. We talked a little bit about Sunset Rec, but the issue is a lot of students who are facing insecurity aren't necessarily living on the hill because there are food plans available. So we wanted to make sure it was somewhere accessible for students living in apartments, commuting students, to have that space available. We felt like having it on campus was more of a priority. Are there any other questions or comments? And then just as a reminder to everyone, this information was included in the PowerPoint that we did last quarter, but through the food security work group, we have been given $2,500 to allocate for startup fees, so it would be to buy a refrigerator, possibly buy some new furniture for upstairs and to make that space into a nice, beautiful, inclusive location on campus. So we do have the financial means to accommodate those startup costs. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we can go into a vote. All those in favor of approving Kirkhoff 519 to a shared space with the student food co-op, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against and those abstain. To a 10-0-0 vote, the action item has been approved. Yay! Okay, thank you all so much. It really means a lot, and I think it's really such a great effort on student council. It shows that we're really here to support these students and that we're willing to make space and make sure we're providing a location on campus where we can address these issues and bring all these different entities together. So I know I'm stoked. I will tell my directors and the food security work group, shout out to Marvin and Zach who also sit on that. We'll be very excited to hear this. So thank you all. Okay, next up we have new business action item, changes to the bylaws pertaining to the Community Service Commission. So this is listed by Ian, so I'll put it into Ian and then Zach for Ian.
Great, okay. So the bylaw change in this case is removing the appointment of board and community activities committee members from presidential appointments and moving them to the appointment section for the Community Service Commission. As a summary, the committee voted 0-3 against recommending this bylaw change to the members.
Okay, so Zach, it is your proposed bylaw change. So before we get any motions on the table, I want to give you an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give kind of background as to why I brought forth this amendment change and then sort of how I want to amend it before we go into a motion. And first off, I want to apologize to Heather as I sent this to Ian very right in the email when CRC had its last meeting, so I didn't really inform her that I was bringing forth this sort of removal of appointments from the president to CSC, so I definitely want to apologize for doing that and not notifying you of it sort of ahead of time. The background to doing this, though, is that CAC, we work very closely with it in the Community Service Commission. That is the main funding source for ongoing service projects at UCLA. This past year, over 80 community service projects applied to it, and it's a funding app we've worked on over summer. In fact, CSC has an entire weekend retreat where we just work on this one application, and it's due in early August. So the appointment of committee members is very important, as Josh emphasized during public comment, because the committee needs to be appointed by late June, early July, in order to go through proper training for the committee in order to sit in hearings. Now, this past year, we didn't really have an issue because Heather did a great job with appointments, ARC did a really good job of meeting on time and going through everything properly. But in the past, specifically during the previous year, like during last summer when Devin was president, appointments were delayed extremely because there was a lot of travel going on and the committee had extremely delayed allocations. So I've been working with this committee the last quarter and looking at ways in which we improve the process for all service groups in general. And one of the biggest concerns that was not just brought forth by the committee, but also by the sole administration, administrators in the sole office, was the appointment of members to the committee. They said was actually one of the biggest problems because it was delayed. So our solution at the time was to just move it under CSC, since we have a more direct relationship with them in the SO office, since they interact more with me with this committee. But after last week, I met with them last Friday, and they had received feedback since CRC had reviewed it. So they had asked me to bring forth an amendment, which I'm going to be bringing forth and asking you to propose. And so Patty, I just sent you a revision like 30 minutes ago of the one I want to, the one I would like to amend this to. It should be like a second. Yeah. So how I have asked how I want to amend it to be voted on is, rather than moving it under to the community service commissioner, keeping it under the president with an added stipulation that says 4 appointments, comma, which must be appointed by final week of spring quarter. That way it just has some type of mechanism that as soon as appointments come in, they're being done immediately before summer. So that way, going into summer, when student groups are working on this half, the committee is trained in time and allocation aren't delayed in the fall quarter. And I do acknowledge that CSC, we definitely do, as I was saying, I don't have more of a conflict of interest because our groups are applying to it, and I want to be wary of that. So I think this is a more fair and just approach to the underlying problem that's going on. So, should I make a motion?
Okay. Now, it's a unique situation, so I was trying to think about the best way strategically.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and, trying to think. Because what my option I'm thinking, and Patty, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is to, since there is the changes pertaining to the CSC is technically the action item, so maybe to make the motion for the original and then to add the amendment during our motion for the original proposed language. Okay, so why don't we do that? So I can entertain a motion to change the bylaws pertaining to the Community Service Commission. Yeah.
I move to change the bylaws pertaining to the Community Service Commission.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Alia. Okay, so this is going to be referring to the original.
Okay.
But since you are proposing the CSC bylaw change, so this is the amendment that you are proposing.
This is the amendment I'm proposing.
Okay, great. So we'll go ahead, since this is an amendment and it is such a difference, we'll go ahead and do a motion based off of this amendment. So I can entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the bylaws pertaining to the CSC.
I move to approve the amendment for the bylaws pertaining specifically to the CSC.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ian. So we'll go ahead and discussion regarding the amendment. I'd like to thank Zach. Zach and I had a very great conversation this morning. And I think it is, I am in support, if I were to vote, for having this because it is such an important deadline. Usually administrators do send an email if there is a time sensitivity on certain appointments. But since there has been a track record, not this year, but in past years, of there being a delay, I think having it in the bylaws, if that would better suit the needs of the Community Activities Committee, it seems like a fair proposal to be inserted into the bylaws. Is there any other discussion regarding this amendment? Yeah.
I think it makes perfect sense. I think my main concern with the original amendment, the first concern was that, the president makes most of the site from the 10 minutes, and that's the power that the student body understands because we'll have the elected president. The secondary concern, which was emphasized in an article written about the Constitutional Review Committee meeting, but was just a secondary concern to me, was that it could be considered problematic, conflict of interest in a lot of the funding going to the CSC and they're in front of Christmas deciding on funding. But I think this obviously solves both those problems and makes perfect sense.
Okay, any other, Dr. Ellis?
2 questions. First, is it feasible for a president to take office in 5-ish, get applicants, and then get all the way to the point of an appointment by week 10? The second is, both CAC and CPC have their orientations at the same time. Is there any argument for also making the same type of change for CAC. You know, it's not as much of a community service issue, but when it comes to having appointments before the committee orientation, or for the speaker that impacted having to get trained on the fly and on the job, there might be value there as well.
I can address the part regarding the time period for the president. So within, when I was a student office, the appointments that can be made are ASC Daily Board of Directors, usually the Communications Board, and then the Connectivities Committee, as well as the CPC. So within the time period, it is feasible, since you are usually a student office week 6 or week 7, so you do have about 3 or 4 weeks. And usually we send out, you know, it's expected of the president to send out the list of appointments as soon as possible. If for some reason something does come up, you know, there are mechanisms in which the bylaws can be, you know, broken essentially if there is some sort of very strange circumstance. For example, if elections happen week 9, since that is a possibility that it just as long as elections don't happen during finals week or week 10. So if that were to happen, then there are certain, you know, leniencies within our system that could potentially accommodate that sort of issue. So I wanted to address that. And then Zach?
Yeah, and kind of just going on that, this will also sort of create a system that kind of motivates the president at the time to get the application out there, get the appointments going, get ARC appointed and everything. So I think that'll be good as far as that process. As far as CPC, I can't really speak too much on that. However, I do know that they don't allocate funding during summer, which is why it's typically been acceptable in the past that those committee members get appointed later, because they have adjusted orientation to that funding body previously, because CPC doesn't allocate until fall quarter, whereas CAC starts allocating beginning of August. So at least a 2-month difference there. So I know that SOL has been very flexible in that and training the members as they've been getting them, but they can't be as flexible with CAC. Because it is a summer funding app. Hearings are done in the summer, and the whole point is to hopefully get the 80 groups their allocations by week 1 of fall quarter, from what I know of the committee.
Okay. Any other points of discussion or question regarding the amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against and those abstained. To a 10-0-0 vote, the amendment has been made to the bylaw pertaining to the CSC. So that was the amendment. So now we'll go back to the original motion regarding changes to the bylaws pertaining to the CSC. So is there any other point of commentary regarding? Okay, so now we'll go into a vote and regarding the general bylaw change pertaining to the CSC. Okay, which will now actually be also the president. Yes, Trent?
Since we are making this amendment, I'm inclined to question whether or not we should delay this a week, just because in the past, I know we've done this, maybe we can talk about this. Have CRC look over this, and convene a meeting to discuss this language. Or maybe even Zach can answer the question, or the question is the amount of groups that have applied to community activities fund, communities fund, as a proportion of CSC, and whether or not there may be other stakeholders who would be interested in potentially having an appointment if the president does not make the appointment by this week.
So you're saying that there may be questions regarding other stakeholders could potentially have an issue with the deadline on the appointment?
Yes, so for example, Zach, if let's say hypothetically the president doesn't have 4 regular appointments, that goes straight to Zach, right? Zach will be able to choose people to appoint, right?
No.
No.
Okay, then let's clarify the amendment.
The amendment is just adding a deadline. So saying that the president must appoint by finals week.
And then, so my question is, what happens if the president?
Then they're violating bylaws. So any time that bylaws could potentially be violated. Ian, did you have any response?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say the function of the constitutional committee is to make recommendations as to any changes to bylaws. But I think we also need to, I'm saying I don't think there's a process for going through constitutional committee for this amendment to this amendment will expedite the process of elucidate the council. So I don't think we would need another meeting to consider this, at least from my perspective.
I want to clarification on the final.
No, so it is a presidential appointment, there's just a deadline placed, and if the deadline's not met, then it's a violation of bylaws. Yes. Okay, great. On that duty note, let's go ahead. Any other points of discussion regarding the changes to bylaws pertaining to the CSC? It can now be also the president. Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against? And those abstained? To a 10-0-0 vote, the changes to the bylaws pertaining to the CSC has been approved. Yay. Okay, next up, we have changes to the bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments. So I'll pass it over to our chair of the CRC, Ian Cochran.
Great. So the next bylaw change considered by the committee was the addition of a campus food security director, or 2 campus food security directors, into the presidential appointment section of the bylaws. The committee recommended that we add a subsection to that provision, stipulating the stipend of those positions shall be contingent upon funds provided by the UC Office of the President, because we basically wanted to ensure that the guidelines of those positions were also in the bylaws essentially, so that we know that stipends are not going to be fees, that should be provided by the UC Office of the President. There's also another source of funding, I believe, so I'll let Heather talk more about that.
So basically the funding for the stipend for these directors is coming from the Food Security Work Group, which is partially funded by the UC Office of the President, as well as the Healthy Campus Initiative is going to be matching those payments. The reason that we'll do the motion in a second, I just want to give your own background information. The reason I did not include anything regarding the stipends, as with many other of our committees, such as the Student Initiated Access Committee, those stipends are given through the Community Programs Office and not through USAC. We don't specify where those funds of the stipend are given. They're instead included in the information position descriptions which are passed along. So I just wanted to include the appointment under the same precedent that's already been established, naming the appointment as well as the numbers. And the funds are not provided necessarily by the UC Office of the President. They may be provided by the campus. The Healthy Campus Initiative through the Food Security Work Group. So that is where the funding is coming from. So it isn't coming out of USAC's pocket. But as with some of these other appointments, they are coming from other sources on campus. So the changes to bylaws pertaining presidential appointments is the action item on the agenda. So I can entertain a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve? Ian?
I just want to add one more note.
Yeah.
That amendment that was offered by the CRC is advisory, so we don't actually amend the bylaw change proposed. So we can make a motion to basically approve the bylaw, and then we can consider making the amendment in red that the Constitution Committee recommended, if that's what we wish to do.
Okay. So there is a motion regarding the bylaw change as submitted by the Office of the President. Okay. So is there a motion? A motion to approve?
I move to approve the recommendations made by CC.
No. Can you approve the change to the bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments? Heather?
I move to approve the changes to the bylaws pertaining to presidential.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Ian. Okay, so we'll go into discussion regarding the appointments. A little bit of information for you all about what this appointment is going to be doing. Let me pull up the description that I forwarded to CRC, just to give everyone a little bit of context about the purpose of adding this appointment. So the campus food security appointment will be serving the needs of the student body to address issues regarding food insecurity. The appointment shall have the duration of 1 academic year, and the appointment must work closely with the following groups: the Food Security Work Group, housed in the Community Programs Office, and the Student Food Collective at UCLA, which is an officially recognized student group here, and once is designated space, which we just voted on, in the Information Center. The appointees will be in charge of overseeing volunteers and making sure the center functions properly. So having a USAC entity, they'll directly work with the student food co-op that we just approved the other bit for. So now we'll go ahead and open it up to any discussion regarding the motion on the table. Yeah.
I think with the information given to us by the president, the amendment offered by the Constitution Review Committee isn't necessary, and that if we just pass it as presented, it would be in line with the other subdivisions that also don't have a stipulation as to where the funding comes from.
Okay. So is there any other questions after that?
Since you're putting more than one, I'm wondering if you might want to say they're directors or co-directors or something that shows that it's not a single director, whereas everything else that has a director is just one person.
Yes. Good point. So I guess food security directors, I think, would be the amendment that I would propose. Since this is an amendment to the bylaw, if I can get someone to make a motion to change the campus food security directors. Heather?
I move to change the name of the appointment to be Campus Food Security Directors.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Anais. We'll go ahead and open up discussion regarding the amendment. Seeing no discussion, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? And this again is the amendment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against and those abstained. To a 9-0-0 vote, the amendment has been approved to change it to directors. So I'll go back to the general action item regarding changes to the bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments. Are there any other points of discussion, commentary, or objection regarding the appointment, the bylaw change? Okay, seeing none, we can go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstained? To a 9-0-0 vote, the changes to the bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments has been approved. Yay! Okay, again, thank you so much, everyone. This is a great addition and great support from USAC regarding food security on campus, especially because this is not just a conversation here at UCLA, it's a UC conversation, as well as a national conversation. Okay, next up, we have changes to the bylaws pertaining to the Academic Affairs Commissioner. So over to Ian again.
Okay, so this change would add let's see, it would add a program or service to the Academic Affairs Commission, which is to address academic inequities present in K through 16 education. The committee recommends the adoption of this bylaw amendment with 3-0 vote.
Okay, and so before we go into a motion, I want to open the floor to the Academic Affairs Commissioner. If you have any commentary you'd like to address. Okay, great. Well, we can go ahead into a motion.
Point of order.
Point of order, yes.
We locked the floor.
Oh, I didn't see Marvin went to the restroom.
So I moved for a 2-minute recess.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Heather. We can't vote. Two.
Why don't we just wait?
Yeah, we'll wait.
We can make motions at the committee of a whole to recess, adjourn, or.
You just want to go whole and recess?
Yeah, we can do whatever. We can recess. We can vote
I'm going to go ahead and take this time as a.
Oh, never mind.
I think we're waiting, totally forgot.
Okay, so we had I'm going to go back. Heather, you want to make the motion? Yeah, make a motion. No, I did not. Somebody make the motion. Okay, I'll go ahead and start over. I can entertain a motion to approve. Yeah.
I move to approve the amendments, the changes to the bylaws between the A's.
All right, is there a second? A second. Second by Heather. Okay, we'll go ahead into discussion regarding the bylaw change. How do you close it up?
Which one?
The Academic Affairs Commission. Okay. Okay, so again, the change is to address academic inequities present in K-12 education. Yes, sir? K through 16, sorry, K through 16, I said K through 12, K through 16 education. Okay, so any points of discussion? Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 9. Those against, and those abstaining, to 9 0 votes, and the changes to the bylaws pertaining to the AAC has been approved. Next up, we have changes to bylaws pertaining to the internal vice president. So let's begin to our chairperson of the CRC.
So this bylaw amendment would add an additional duty to that of the internal vice president, which is that, or 2 additional duties. The internal vice president shall be responsible for working to ensure the safety of UCLA students, and the internal vice president shall have the authority to delegate an investigatory committee to research any problem which deals with student safety. The committee recommended a 3-0 vote that these bylaw changes be adopted.
Okay, so before we get in motion, did you want to add context to?
Yeah, so I added these 2 duties to the internal vice president's office because as IVP, you do convene the Campus Safety Alliance once per quarter. You also are chair of the Campus Safety Alliance, so you have established relationships with entities regarding student safety on our campus. You have those relationships, you understand the projects and initiatives that these different departments are working on. And so that's why I wanted that responsibility and those roles to be reflected in these bylaws. But by no means do I think that IVP is the sole owner of safety. I think that like council and everyone really should be working to ensure the safety of our campus. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. I took the language about the investigatory committee from the SWC bylaws. There's, I literally changed, there says health, I believe, or wellness, health. And I changed it to safety to reflect that. And I wanted that role in there because, again, IVP does have established relationships with many different campus entities that would be responding to any sort of incident that were to happen on our campus.
Okay. Second, entertain a motion. Anais?
I move to approve the changes to the bylaws pertaining to the IVP.
All right, is there a second?
Oh,
Second by Heather. Okay, go ahead into discussion.
there's also another change that isn't on here about the Shrek.
Okay.
So can we bring that up too?
Oh, yeah. But that's.
I guess we can do it
it's not a
separately.
separate agenda item.
It wasn't a separate agenda.
I mean, it's both, it's a bylaw pertaining to the IVP, but there's like these 2,
Yeah.
I submitted 2 forms, so technically it could be under the same.
So it is
Yeah, I was
under
gonna
the
say-
same agenda items put forward. So the agenda items changes to the internal vice president, which would be a change to internal vice president. It's just on 2 separate forms.
Although the strike is the presidential appointment too, is this under the bylaws of the
It's
IVP?
under the bylaws of the president, but designating the appointment to Shrek to be the IVP.
Yeah. Okay, we can consider, well, we'll just consider them in turn, I suppose, under the same new business item, but we'll have to do some motion.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just address first the, change pertaining to the duties of the IVP, and then we'll move on to the strike.
Okay, great. So it's all under the same motion. We'll just separate it as we have with resolutions where we do the grammatical and then the overall. So we'll just do the 2 different conversations.
I was gonna say, it should be 2 motions.
You want to do 2 motions?
Two totally separate issues.
Yeah. So then it will be not needed to add it to the agenda.
Yeah, well,
It wasn't added initially.
I mean, it can still be on, we can still consider them under the same agenda item, and just make 2 separate motions, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll deal with the role, the duties first.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead as chair and say I'd actually like an agenda item to be added, since it is listed everything was sent out in a timely manner, and the electronic documentation was sent out. But just for Robert's Rules of Order, since it is technically related to the presidential appointments, we'll go ahead and add to a different agenda item at the end. But just note for the Daily Bruin and everyone, the electronic version was sent out in the proper timeline according to our bylaws and was present and available. We'll list it as just for the clarity for the minutes, and for Robert's Rules, we're going to add it as a separate agenda item at the end. Okay, so we are talking about the proposed Article 9, Section E, to the internal vice president. So there's a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and talk about any objections or questions regarding the items 15 and 16. Okay. Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstain? To a 9-0-0 vote, the changes to bylaws pertaining to the internal vice president has been approved. Now, just for, again, for clarity purposes, I can entertain a motion to add a new agenda item for the petition that the bylaw change form has been added. So the proposed motion I would suggest is changes to bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments. Ian?
I move to add an agenda item pertaining, add an agenda item as follows: changes to bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments in regards to the student risk education committee.
Pertaining, you want to add pertaining to?
In regards to the student risk education committee, differentiating the other agenda items.
Okay. Yeah, student risk. Okay, so there is a motion on the table, since this is going to be adding a new agenda item with E3-4. There's there a second to the motion? Second by Trent. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstaining? To 9-0-0 vote, we'll add the changes to bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments in regards to strike as H. So next up we have changes to bylaws pertaining to the Student Wellness Commissioner. So Ian, once again.
Okay, so this bylaw change would remove Campus Safety Awareness Week along with the Campus Safety Alliance from the events held by the SWC, and it would add clothesline display and also change care advocate to care office. And the committee recommended these changes be made with a 3-0 vote.
Okay, so Marvin, do you want to provide any context?
Yeah, so basically, recognizing the work that's been done this year, not only by the SOC, by the rest of the council, but even by the office. To talk with Heather, and essentially realized that the need for Campus Safety Awareness Week, along with Campus Safety Alliance, is best suited for the office's evidence by the work that's been done this year. And again, to echo what Heather said, that doesn't mean it's limited to a single office to do the work, and that I am very happy to say and fortunate that we were able to work with the office for the we did this year's Campus Safety Awareness Week. So that is a change regarding that, and then farther down for the next change, it will be changed to care office because as we experience changes to the structure of the entire office, it's more flexible to allow for different members of the office to participate in and partnering with SWC to do that, and changing the advocate herself to the entire office and all the representatives who work with us. And in addition, we wanted to add under that particular to add closing display. I'm sure you all noticed in Wilson Plaza this past month in April that the closing display was up, and it was actually the biggest of all in its history. It was its 20th year, and again, we're very fortunate to be able to basically put on one of those significant events, I think, on this campus, and that is something that we wanted to ensure it had institutionalization, putting it into the bylaws in particular.
Thank you. Okay, so I can, so we have introduction of context. Okay, I can entertain a motion.
Heather? I move to approve the changes to the bylaws pertaining to the SWC. Is there a second? Second by Trent. We'll go ahead and open it up for discussion. Okay, seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstained? To a 9-0-0 vote, the changes pertaining to the SWC have been approved. Next up, we have item H, changes to the bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments in regards to the student risk education. So I'll pass it over once again to Ian.
So this bylaw change dictates that the presidential appointments to student risk education committee shall be the internal vice president. This change is also recommended in a 3-0-0 vote by.
Okay, and then Heather? So providing context for this past year, the internal vice president has served as a member of the Student Risk Education Committee. Zach is also a member of that committee, and basically every week we are allocating funds to different student organizations that need safety precautions, like if they're working with children or students off campus, they have to have shirts that designate them as a different group from the rest of the children. Hypertension trainings, driver safety training are all paid for by Shrek. And so in line with this other bylaw change pertaining to safety, I thought that this was fitting to have that established and reflected within the bylaws. I spoke with the chairperson of Shrek, and he is supportive of these recommendations and also is making changes to the Shrek MOU to reflect this as well. Okay, so I can entertain a motion. Ian?
I move to approve the changes to the bylaw pertaining to presidential appointments in regards to student risk education.
Is there a second? Second by Trent. We'll go ahead and have discussion regarding the proposed bylaw changes. Are there any points of discussion? Seeing none, we'll go into a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against and those that abstain? To a 9-0-0 vote, the changes in the bylaws pertaining to presidential appointments in regards to the Student Risk Education Committee have been approved. Okay, next up we have, oh, you're done for bylaw changes. Now we have, now we have announcements. Again, thank you for editing the document. I don't know if you saw on our USAC website, they made it, on the Facebook page, you know, the times is really. But I want to open up the floor for any additional announcements if you have an opportunity to put them in or anything.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I think overall there are 2 documents in circulation.
Okay.
One of them is the one most recent with communications director made, and the other one is the officer report, right? The one with the highlighted ones, I think.
I missed that.
Yeah, so which one are we using?
The one from the communications director.
And that was no longer in circulation.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, sorry for that confusion.
No, it's totally fine.
Okay, perfect. Trent?
Quick announcement, I forgot to post this, sorry for that. AAC and CEC are partying out tomorrow. We're bringing the CEO of the Malala Foundation. Don't want to put your name, you know, pronounce your name.
She's really awesome, and she performs 30 under 30.
Yes.
So she's gonna be really big.
Fun fact is, back when I was a freshman, I played for CEC and got some right. One of my bucket lists is that we order around so we're at CEC. So, community events come out. I think that the first couple of years, I'm going to receive a higher education t-shirt.
Tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
More 100.
Okay, Ian?
I want to make an announcement about bylaw changes. We actually do have one more meeting. Questions, no more, it's too late. We have anything else. So yeah, no more bylaw changes.
Bye.
I'm gonna ask the judges for the next week as well, because I got events like 2.
Yeah, the next week. Trent?
I got another one. Please respond to my group me message. Wink. Keep it on the DL, if you know what I mean. Yeah, really appreciate it much. Please let me know if that doesn't work out. We can figure out some ways.
Right?
So, we have a big event next week. It's actually next Tuesday, 7 to 10 p.m. in Ackerman Grand Ballroom. SCC Winners Community turn Ackerman Grand Ballroom into a roller skating rink. So, super groovy. I won last year. Saw Lexi there. There's a meeting next Tuesday, 7 to 10 p.m. So when we're all done, we can all actually go to Ackerman Grand Ballroom and shred some skates. So afterwards.
Do stuff on Tuesday.
And then, like, proceeds will go to the fundraiser for AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Another event going on is tomorrow, there's a Cities Experts Committee, they're having an information, open house basically. Star Wars theme, it's called May the Force Consensually Be In You. So, tomorrow at 7 to 8 p.m. in Ackerman 3517. And that's women's friendly dates for just
Okay. Any other announcements? All right, seeing none, I can entertain a motion to adjourn. Heather, I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Second by Ian. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? And those abstained? So 9 to 0 vote. I adjourn the meeting at 8:24. Edith.